we all live, or at least most of us do, in a bubble of some kind or another. For example, there is literally nobody in my life whose politics are very different from mine. That makes it easier, but it also means that I don't necessarily have some insights into what's going on that I might otherwise have, even though I pay pretty close attention to what's happening in the world. The bubble surrounding the United States Senate is unique. It is incredibly insular, and far removed from the constituents they are supposed to be serving. What's fascinating about how the Senate has evolved over the last few decades is that it seems that only the Democratic senators still exist in that bubble in which they pretend that things like civility and collegiality still exist. So here we are at the 11th hour, waiting to see if the Senate Democrats will hold strong and make sure that the repulsive and dangerous Republican budget doesn't pass. Will that mean shutting the government down? Yeah, but that would not be down to the Democrats. That would be because the Republicans don't have enough votes, even though they control everything. So we don't know what's going to happen. But what alarms me is that the Democrats, this is the last card Democrats have to play. And before we got to this point, they had one avenue open to them, and that was to fight and try to win the messaging war. And they've completely abdicated that responsibility as well. So we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but, and I don't mean this to sound hyperbolic, wherever they come down one way or the other, it's going to change everything. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Barry Trump Live. It is wonderful to have you here. Yeah, it is crunch time. There is a lot going on, so let me get to it. Let's start with a topic we're all probably really, really sick of by now, but it continues to be very, very relevant both to our economy, our very fragile alliances, and the future of whatever is going to happen in the context of both of those things. The Trump regime's 25% tariff on steel and aluminum has prompted European Union retaliation with tariffs on American goods like bourbon and motorcycles. Companies like Brown-Forman, which makes Jack Daniels, and Harley-Davidson saw sharp stock declines. Well, that seems to be something a lot of people have in common these days. Donald briefly doubled down and then walked back tariffs on Canadian steel, but it was too little too late because Canada responded earlier today after the EU retaliated. CNBC's Megan Casella has more. Take a look.
Canada now saying they will be putting 25% tariffs starting tomorrow on about $20 billion in U.S. exports. They say they'll mostly be targeting steel and aluminum, but they're also going to hit some other U.S. imports. They say that'll include computers, sports equipment, and cast iron products, just as some examples. So expect more details to come from Canada, and I would also expect more retaliatory announcements to come today, guys, as other countries start to digest this move, because remember, this hits everybody across the world, so we do expect to see more retaliation.
Yeah, it hits everybody. Nobody is going to be immune from this, and the chaotic back and forth on tariffs is eroding business and consumer confidence, which are important if we want to have a strong economy. Airlines like Delta reported weaker demand, contributing to stock drops. This is happening, again, across the board because we have somebody who's, well, I think in charge is sort of the wrong way of putting it, but we have somebody who is doing this on purpose without any game plan, without any understanding of the reality underpinning the quite bizarre decisions he's making, unless there's some motive of which we are unaware. And I do not leave that out as a possibility. But we cannot expect our allies, whom we again are attacking unprovoked, unilaterally, to sit by and take it. I know that's what Donald is used to, but, this is what happens when you fight back against a bully. So sadly, it looks like we're at the beginning of this, and it's probably only going to get worse, which could have catastrophic implications, not just for our economy and our relationships, but for the global economy as well. Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal editorial board has turned against Donald. Oh, wow. Think it's about time, guys? I guess better late than never, I suppose. Well, maybe not. Warning of a potential Trump recession. Ooh, fighting words. Due to his erratic tariffs and economic policies, and saying he would, quote, be wise to put his tariff plans on the shelf, unquote. Oh, that'll teach him. Even Fox News' Peter Doocy, typically, well, a staunch defender. That's a complete and utter sycophant and doormat. He called out Donald multiple times on live television over the economic downturn. Shocking. Actually, that really is. Play the clip.
This is a White House that came in trying to get federal workers to retire by the hundreds of thousands. But it's tough to make the argument that you should retire if your retirement accounts are getting throttled, which is what is happening right now.
Okay, well, by the way, that's the guy whose dad sits on a couch for a living and just does what he's told. So good for you, Peter. Maybe the apple does fall far from the tree. Time will tell. During a White House briefing, Doocy sarcastically asked Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt this question. Play the clip.
Dow dropping and dropping and dropping is a period of transition. You're sure nobody here at the White House shorted the Dow?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. But is there any concern here that it's going to be harder to ask certain federal workers to retire if they look at their retirement accounts and they're getting robbed every day?
Well, I'm glad you brought up workers, because that's exactly who President Trump is looking out for.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I have to tell you, that gave me a moment of frisson when she was stumped, totally stumped by this guy she thought was in her back pocket. That was a beautiful thing. Well done, Peter. I am looking forward to more, because more will come. Later, at a White House event where Donald promoted Tesla and announced he was buying one. So embarrassing. Doocy confronted him personally with this question. Watch this.
Trump buying a new car, while there are some folks who will see this clip at home and they are struggling with their retirement accounts down at the moment, uncertainty about work ahead.
Well, I think they're going to do great. I think our country had to do this. We had to go and do this. They've taken away, other countries have taken away our business. They've taken away our jobs. I did it initially very strongly against, as you know, China and some others.
Oh, because Donald, the weakest person to crawl the planet, is definitely known for doing things strongly, which is, I don't think that's a way people actually talk. But he's very fond of that adverb, as misapplied as it always is. So he didn't answer the question, but the message there is too fucking bad. Suck it up. We're going to do whatever we want, and we don't care about you. Look at my nice, shiny new car. Well, it's a Tesla. How nice could it possibly be? Anyway, today, the Kremlin stated it's waiting for a briefing from the U.S. before commenting on a 30-day ceasefire proposal agreed upon by Ukraine and the United States in Saudi Arabia. France 24's Douglas Arbert has more. Play the clip.
He's playing the clock. They're calling it strategic silence. He is not going to allow the Americans to set the terms and the Americans to dictate the timing of Vladimir Putin. When and if he signs on to the ceasefire, is going to do it on his terms, according to his conditions. And let's be clear about it. His conditions have not changed. Yes, the Americans are saying at this hour that they're expecting Russia to accept it unconditionally. That was what the Secretary of State said. And we've been saying it's become cliched, putting the ball in Russia's court. The fact of the matter is, on Russia, unconditionally, that's where you're going to have a red line here with Putin. He has not changed his narrative. He has not changed his conditions. Putin has not budged on where he stands with respect to any potential ceasefire, if you will, let alone peace plan.
Yeah, first of all, that man's name will be Herbert. I was thinking of the tennis player, so my apologies. Yeah, why would Putin's position change? All he has to do is wait it out and make sure that Donald continues down the road he's been going down until briefly changing course recently. But that's not going to last because Donald's going to tell whatever his handler tells him to do. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov did not rule out a call between Putin and Donald, saying it could be arranged quickly if needed. It's sort of interesting to me. Like, what exactly, like, just Donald and Putin. I'm sure the notes, the translator notes will be thorough and comprehensive. Russia, which controls, this makes me angry, nearly 20% of Ukraine, has been making steady territorial advances while Ukraine's hold on a small part of Western Russia is weakening. Meanwhile, the deep state map, a widely used online Ukrainian battle tracker, appeared to show Ukraine no longer in control of Sudzha, a town in Russia's Kursk region. Quote, devastating loss of Kursk for Ukraine, deep state confirms, and the remaining blue areas will follow. The Ukrainian military declined to comment, leaving uncertainty over whether Kyiv's forces have fully withdrawn. Sudzha was seized by Ukraine in August 2024 as a bargaining chip for potential negotiations regarding Russia's invasion. The update comes as Moscow has intensified its offensive, reclaiming territory in recent days. The map is not an official government source, but it is compiled by Ukrainian users with publicly available data. This is to be expected. Why is Russia continuing to encroach? Why is Ukraine losing territory they had already gained? Well, because of Donald Trump and the willingness of the Fascist Republican Party and the fecklessness of part-time Secretary of State Marco Rubio to allow it. This is an obscenity. The United States is now participating in willingly in what is going to be seen if we write history, as not just an abdication of responsibility, a horrific abdication of responsibility to an ally who could have become one of our staunchest allies, pro-democracy, pro-freedom, but a willing participant in Russia's crimes against humanity against said ally. According to a report in AP today, Greenland's Democratic Party won in a surprise victory, advocating gradual independence from Denmark while rejecting Donald's push to take control of the island. Go Greenland. Donald claimed last week that the U.S. would acquire Greenland, quote, one way or another, unquote. He said it strongly, so I guess it's true. And that sparked backlash from Greenlandic and Danish leaders alike. The election saw Democratic win nearly 30% of the vote, up from 9% in 2021, with Nalarak, the most pro-independence party, finishing second at 25%. Play the clip.
And that appears to be a repudiation, a rejection of what Donald Trump has been saying to Greenlanders. And I have to say, it sort of reflects what Greenlanders have been saying to us, which is they are angry by his interference, his meddling, and they're baffled by it. You know, they say that if he wants Greenland for security reasons, well, America already has a military base here. It's been told by Denmark it can have more, and it needs to work, if it wants to, more closely with Denmark to see off strategic threats from Russia and China. There's no need to take Greenland in the kind of neo-imperialist way that Donald Trump has been talking about, erasing borders with Canada and Greenland. Equally, if the Americans want access to the mineral wealth here in Greenland, they don't need to take the country, they just need to join the queue with the Chinese, Australians, Canadians and Europeans all trying to extract the mineral wealth of the place, which, it has to be said, is pretty difficult because of the climate. What Greenlanders really don't want is to see a partner who was reliable and responsible in this region now actively destabilising it with the kind of rhetoric we've seen from America's president.
Yeah, and that's why we see these election results. They send a clear message that Greenland is not for sale, which, you know, is something Donald Trump doesn't understand because he thinks everything is for sale. The Democratic leader, Jens Friedrich Nielsen, said, quote, "We don't want to be Americans. No, we don't want to be Danes. We want to be Greenlanders, and we want our own independence in the future, and we want to build our own country by ourselves, not with his hope," unquote. Well, hope. I'm hoping that that's a mistranslation, because hope is something Donald doesn't have about anything and cannot give to anyone. But that is how you do it. Greenland, I applaud you. And this should embolden those other countries that are under similar attack by Donald Trump. I have no idea that Donald will change his tune because he doesn't like taking no for an answer, because whoever says no to him, right? However, there's a point at which it doesn't really matter what he says or wants anymore, as long as people stand strong and united against him. The Education Department announced it has laid off over 1,300 employees. The move impacts the agency responsible for overseeing federal college loans. Yeah, remember those? Yeah. Remember something called, what was it again? Loan forgiveness? Tracking student achievement and enforcing civil rights laws in schools, because who needs to be bothered with those pesky things? Starting the year with 4,133 staff members, the department's workforce will now be halved. In addition to the 1,315 layoffs, 572 employees took voluntary separation packages, and 63 probationary workers were let go last month. Though eliminating the Department of Education entirely would require congressional approval. Oh, we're still pretending that that's a thing, are we? Okay. Donald has vowed to dismantle it with the help of incoming Secretary Linda McMahon. So again, remember, people who were nominated and confirmed to be the secretaries of these agencies were hired because they will be willing to destroy them, not improve them. Today, the department was closed still for security reasons. Let's watch this report from earlier this afternoon.
The Department of Education is closed today for security reasons following an announcement that its staff is being slashed by nearly 50%. Education Secretary Linda McMahon called it a significant step towards restoring the greatness of the U.S. education system.
They were actually sent this kind of cryptic email yesterday saying you have to evacuate the building by 6 p.m. It's going to be closed again through Wednesday, without really giving a reason as to why. They noted security concerns, but we've been standing out here since about 6:30 this morning, and we haven't seen any such concerns. After staff received that email, we then learned, and they then learned, that half of the staff at the agency was put on administrative leave. That's about 1,500, over 1,500 members or employees put on administrative leave. Now, the agency says that they will continue to service core programs of the department, but this is also making clear this is the first step of dismantling this agency.
Yes, somebody explain to me, unless I'm missing something, how do you make something stronger by dismantling it? It's kind of like what's happening with the United States of America. But of course, nobody is asking Linda McMahon that very logical question, because she won't go to interviews conducted by anybody other than Laura Ingraham and other Fox personalities. Speaking of the militantly ignorant, yesterday, and this is something else that should make us all quite angry, at a House subcommittee hearing, things took a dramatic turn when Representative Keith Self, Republican from Texas, misgendered Representative Sarah McBride, who's a Democrat from Delaware. She is also the first openly transgender person elected to Congress. During a discussion on arms control and U.S. assistance to Europe. Okay, arms control and U.S. assistance to Europe. Can somebody tell me what that has to do with anything other than the topic at hand? Nothing. Self, who chairs the subcommittee on Europe, referred to Representative McBride as Mr. McBride. He did this intentionally. McBride corrected him. No, I don't think she corrected him. What she said was, she responded by saying, "Thank you, Madam Chair." I'm guessing, tragically, that Representative McBride has had to withstand these kinds of insults for a very long time now, so she is quite likely adept at dealing with them with such deft handling. But still, nobody should have to. Representative Bill Keating, Democrat of Massachusetts, then interrupted, asking Self to correct his mistake, which in my view, gave him a little bit too much benefit of the doubt because it wasn't a mistake. It was purposeful. Self again referred to McBride as Mr., prompting Keating to call him out again. Watch this.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply...
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America, please?
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency? I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this
You will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
This hearing is adjourned.
What a tough guy. So that was inexcusable and vile and obscene. But that is the kind of thing that is going to keep happening because a plurality of Americans thought it was a really good idea to put those people in charge of everything. I have a question because I know so many of you watch this show. But seriously, it's not a theoretical question. I'm really quite interested. And then maybe it's for those of you who know people who voted for this. That kind of behavior, that kind of cruelty and meanness and really just immature insulting and just contempt for another person's humanity, right? Was that really what you were gunning for? Like, is that enough for you to make up for the fact that you're not going to have Social Security anymore? You're not going to have a retirement fund. You are not going to have clean air, water. Your children are not going to be able to get vaccinated against easily preventable infectious diseases that could kill them. Was this really worth it to you? So that kind of creep could attack a woman because of who she is, because he's been emboldened by the people who fucking voted for him? Have you no decency? And the answer, of course, is no, you do not. Today, Donald met with Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin in the Oval Office. It didn't go as badly as the meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, but just let's say it wasn't great, because how could it be if Donald Trump is one of the two people in the meeting? Among things said were, quote, "You took our pharmaceutical companies and other companies." That's what Donald said to the Irish Prime Minister. But through taxation and proper taxation, they made it very, very good for companies to move over there. And we had presidents and people that were involved in this that had no idea what they were doing, unquote. Is it like sometimes it's like, are you seriously just looking in the mirror when you talk? Because speaking of people who have no idea what they're doing, he, of course, continued about the whole unfairness of it all, because nobody has ever been treated with such unfairness as Donald Trump. Watch this question about whether Ireland has been taking advantage. Yeah, Ireland has been taking advantage of the United States of America.
The EU was set up in order to take advantage of the United States.
Including Ireland? Is Ireland taking advantage of
the U.S.? Of course they are. I have great respect for Ireland and what they did. And they should have done just what they did. But the United States shouldn't have let it happen. We had stupid leaders. We had leaders that didn't have a clue. Or let's say they weren't business people, but they didn't have a clue what was happening. And all of a sudden, Ireland has, our pharmaceutical companies and this beautiful island of 5 million people. It's got the entire U.S. pharmaceutical industry in its grasp. And, you mentioned housing and you mentioned other things. I have property in Ireland, as you know, and I love it. It does great.
Oh, it does great. Yeah. He has no idea what he's talking about. None of that made sense. I know we're so used to this by now, but just take a second and just take in the wonder of it all. how vapid and unintelligent and uninformed that is. Donald was also asked about what's happening at the Department of Education. You know, that thing he's trying to dismantle so American children can grow up as ignorant, stupid, and vicious as he is. Sorry, the white ones anyway. He has reasons. He had his reasons for gutting the agency, and it probably won't play well with recently fired career employees. So let's check this out.
Of Education's, maybe more so than any other place, has a lot of people that can be cut. They're, number one, not showing up to work. Number two, they're not doing a good job. And if you take a look at our education process, and if you look at the charts, because they have numerous charts where they do the top 40, we're at number 37, 38, 39, and 40. And recently they hit, during Biden's last few days, they hit last. So they were number 40, and yet we're number one in cost per pupil. So it's pretty bad. But we have a dream. And you know what the dream is? We're going to move the Department of Education. We're going to move education into the states, so that the states, instead of bureaucrats working in Washington, so that the states can run education.
He has a dream? Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, he is known for plagiarism, so I guess that tracks. All right. Again, is the education system in the United States perfect? Not by a long stretch. It is desperately in need of adequacy and equity, things that have been lacking because of the deeply stupid way in which we fund public education through property taxes. How did that work out? Badly for people who are in cities where there is a lot of public land that is not, or buildings that are not taxed, you know, or who rent, or who don't live in really rich neighborhoods. So it's a terrible system in terms of how it's funded, but it has enormous potential. The infrastructure, to some degree, is there. A lot of it needs to be fixed. But what he's talking about is dismantling it entirely. And by the way, to the extent that America is not doing well in terms of how we educate our children, it has a lot to do with red states. I think red states are the 20, at least, the 20 worst states when it comes to education. Okay? So handing stuff over to them entirely, I don't think that's going to help solve the problem. Not that that is not what he wants to do. So sorry. That was silly of me. For some reason, transgender issues came up today in that Oval Office press conference with the Irish Prime Minister. I believe the question had to do with working with Democrats, but it's kind of hard to follow because Donald's talking, and who wants to follow what he's saying? Watch.
But who would want these things? And everything's transgender. Everybody transgender. That's all you hear about. Now, that's why we won the election in record numbers. But very importantly, now it is what it is. The Democrats should get with us and come up with good tax policy.
Yeah, it is what it is. I hate that expression more than I could possibly describe it to you. All right. Transgender everywhere. It's because of you and your fascist party. You guys have injected this issue into the mainstream American bloodstream. Most people just believe that everybody should be allowed to live their own lives and choose whomever they want to be, right? As long as you're not hurting anybody, if that's who you are, that's who you should be. You guys did this. Elon Musk, who put it tens of millions of dollars to create this issue out of whole cloth, who ran ads lying about Kamala Harris's position on transgender issues, which was practically non-existent, by the way. When asked about the crisis in Gaza, Donald, again, your guess is as good as mine, said this.
And Schumer is a Palestinian, as far as I'm concerned. You know, he's become a Palestinian. He used to be Jewish. He's not Jewish anymore. He's a Palestinian. Okay.
I mean, he's just a thug. And what does that even mean? It doesn't mean anything. I mean, it means something to him because he thinks calling somebody a Palestinian is an insult. That's what a racist, bigoted creep he is. All right, now, the funding bill. Senate Democrats demand a vote on a 30-day alternative stopgap funding bill before considering the House GOP's 7-month funding measure. With a Friday night deadline, Schumer and Democrats are leveraging Senate rules that require unanimous consent or at least 8 Democratic votes to fast-track the GOP bill. While Senator John Fetterman, alleged Democrat of Pennsylvania, of course supports the GOP bill, because apparently he misses Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema a lot. Other senators, like Senator Peter Welch, Democrat of Vermont, oppose it, citing harmful cuts to veterans, businesses, farmers, and a lack of response to Donald's tariffs cuts. Democrats might eventually allow the GO bill to pass if they get votes on key amendments, such as short-term stopgap to continue budget talks. Without Democratic support, the Republicans lack the votes to break a filibuster, putting the government on track for a shutdown unless a last-minute deal is struck. All right, I want to flesh this one out a little because this is it. This is everything. This is everything. First of all, it's very clear to me, in my opinion, that the Democrats are going about this the wrong way. This is not about policy. This is not about the budget per se. Well, sorry, let me make one clarification. I said this earlier, but it's worth repeating. Democrats have no power here. Republicans are the ones in the majority. It is up to them whether or not the government stays open. If the government shuts down, the Republicans own it, no matter what they say and no matter what corporate media says. It is the Republican Donald Trump shutdown if Republicans cannot get enough votes to break the filibuster. Clear. But you say, okay, yeah, but Democrats, if they hold out, then that's the reason. No, it's not. No, it's not. The Senate is not a democratic institution. The Republicans don't have the majority. They don't have the votes. They're fucking problem. Why? Well, for the obvious reasons, the technical reasons, but also because in the House, Republicans did absolutely nothing to reach out to Democrats. This is a 100% Republican bill. There is no Democratic input. There was no negotiation here. So why would Democrats vote for something so egregiously awful, so harmful to the American people? But that's still not the point. The point is this. This is the only leverage Democrats have. This is their only card left to play. So it's not about where cuts are being made or who's going to be hurt. People are going to be hurt no matter what. People are going to be hurt if there's a government shutdown. People are going to be hurt if there's not. And I'm not interested right now in talking about who that benefits or who's going to be blamed. Doesn't matter. This is about standing up and saying, you want us to make common cause with your fascist? Fuck off. You need our help to keep the government open? You need our help to start gutting programs? Well, guess what? We have a few conditions of our own. Otherwise, we want nothing to do with this. I don't see that happening. And that is a missed opportunity that may haunt all of us for a very, very long time. Justice Amy Coney Barrett's sister was targeted with a bomb threat in South Carolina on March 10th, 2025. Amanda Coney Williams, sister of Justice Barrett, as I said, was targeted in a bomb threat, and the threatening email falsely claimed a pipe bomb was placed in her mailbox and included a free Palestine message, though no explosive was found. Charleston police are investigating, but Williams reportedly never received the email directly. It was sent to the Charleston County Sheriff's Office. The incident comes amid rising threats against federal judges as Barrett recently faced backlash from conservatives over a ruling on federal foreign aid spending, because that's where we are now. The Williams family also reported receiving unwanted pizza deliveries, a tactic some authorities see as a form of judicial intimidation. So, we don't know the identity of the people or person who made these threats and who sent that package. But what we do know, because it's becoming increasingly clear, in fact, we made a video about it today, that anybody who steps out of line, anybody who doesn't agree with every single thing Donald Trump wants, who doesn't agree with every single thing he says, well, it might be your turn next. I think it's time for an emotional support moment because, well, do you guys like manatees? I'm personally quite fond of them. During colder months, from November to March, manatees travel to warmer waters, such as natural springs, since they can't endure water temperatures below 68 degrees for long periods. Same here. See, I have that in common with manatees. I bet you didn't know it was possible to have stuff in common with a manatee if you're human. Manatees are adapted to tropical and subtropical waters, and prolonged exposure to colder temperatures can cause them to lose body heat. It interferes with their ability to digest food adequately, and it can potentially lead to cold stress or hypothermia. They're often referred to as sea cows. See, they have stuff in common with cows because they're large, they're slow, and they graze, kind of like cows. They're also, I don't know if beautiful is the right word, but I find them very, very calming. So let's enjoy some footage of some manatees. Baby manatees get me every time. They deserve that piano accompaniment. Like really large gray koi. No, they're cuter. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that because it's only Wednesday. Oh boy. All right, let's get to your comments and questions. Sorry, let's see. Swanee. Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Comment. Thanks for your work. We're all pretty stressed out over here in the EU, and it helps. I'm glad. Question, and I can imagine actually how stressed you guys are because it's. I mean, it's horrifying to be here, but I think I mean, not that you're. I mean, obviously not. It's affecting all of you too. But I think sometimes like the benefit of distance, like you're seeing a little bit more clearly than a lot of us here, and that probably adds to the stress. Question: do you think Donald is compromised by Putin, or how do you explain his slavish deference to him? Admiration doesn't explain it. No, Donald has an authoritarian personality. He was raised by a patriarchal authoritarian sociopath, and it is not just admiration; it's identification. He wants to be that. He wants to be the murderous dictator with unlimited power. But because he's quite stupid and he has psychiatric disorders that make him extremely vulnerable in particular ways, he is a useful idiot for almost always men who are smarter and more powerful than he is. So I mean, is he compromised? I don't know. And honestly, I don't think it matters. Like, what could come out about Donald Trump that would change anybody's mind? It's identification. And that's makes him extremely malleable. And Putin and Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China know it. And they know how to use it, and they do. Regina, thank you so very much. Comment: I thought Sanders was the worst press secretary, but I just changed my mind. Yeah, this woman leaves them all in the dust. It is quite you just have to call her precocious because I think she's in her late 20s. So clearly qualified in the context of what is, passes for qualifications in this regime. Elizabeth Super Sticker, thanks so very much, Elizabeth. Cindy Super Sticker, that's fantastic. Much appreciated. Diane, also a super sticker. Thank you, Diane. That's great. Jenny, thank you very much as well. Comment, would love to see a deep dive into April 1st. Wisconsin Supreme Court race. Elon pouring millions into it for MAGA. Thanks for everything you do, Mary. You're very welcome. We actually love doing it for you guys, with you guys. Yeah, I mean, obviously that is a very important race. It was really important last time around too. So we will definitely be keeping our eye on that, and that's actually coming up pretty quickly. So thank you for the heads up. MJ, thanks so much, MJ. It's great. Just me, thank you so much as always. Question, are you familiar with Craig Unger's work? How accurate is books about your uncle? Yeah, I haven't read one of his books in a really long time, and it didn't have, was it House of Bush, House of Saud, maybe? So it's been a while. It's been a while. I'm not even sure if I'm getting that right. Hopefully that was him. But I'm familiar enough to know that his work is good. I have not read anything he's written about Donald, though. So my apologies. Maya Cheryl, thank you as always. That's great. Comment, Mary, I'm so sorry you're related to Donnie Dum Dum. Yeah, well, that suits him. You're so intelligent, caring, and decent, unlike him and some other extended family. Well, thank you so much. That's really kind. You know, I mean, like, seek like. Yeah. And also, it's so easy to be different from them, unless there's something deeply, deeply wrong with you. Okay, ACH, thank you so very much. Love from Sweden. Sorry, comment. Love from Sweden. Question. Your thoughts on Betty Lee, Donald's mental illness and contagious and makes his followers mentally insane, how to prevent and cure. Well, I mean, I think I assume she's using the term contagious colloquially. And, you know, this is a tricky thing for people who are psychologists and psychiatrists, because we're, you know, getting into the territory of sociology. And I don't know about Dr. Lee, but I do not have a background in sociology. So there's only so far you can extrapolate from the individual case. But Donald does have a quite a knack for finding people who are weaker than he is and creating the conditions that that make them cling to him in a way from the outside that seems completely illogical and irrational. How to prevent a cure? Well, that's the question for our time. That is the question, I think, for humanity in general, because we're not doing a very good job at all. Jacqueline, thank you very much. Question, Mary, do you think Donald would like to bring back segregated schools, or even Jim Crow laws for that matter? Yeah, he's doing it. He's doing it. And nobody's stopping him. So, like, that's part of what should be in the Democrats' minds tonight before they go to this vote tomorrow. This is not about the budget. This is about the future of this country and whether or not we are going to stand by while a bunch of fascists turn this country into the American South during Jim Crow, which was a closed fascist state. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Deb, Washington, D.C. protest, March 14th, 2025. All right, cool. Check out that link. It's nowmarch.org. NOWmarch.org. Thanks, Deb. Hey, Betty Veronica. Comment, please mention how Newsom has lost his mind and any future votes. Yeah, I talked about this the other day because I'm just so horrified by what he's doing. I honestly think that he believes that this is the way to pivot to become a presidential candidate in 2028. The question is, Which party is he running for? At least that's my question. My own path. Comment. I'm going to Santa Fe on the 14th. I'm 100% service-connected disabled veteran of the USAR and USAF, and I depend upon that income and healthcare. In which case, I am deeply sorry for what is being done to you by these people. It is tragic. It is. I mean, wrong is is not a strong enough word. You served your country with the understanding and promise that your care would be taken, your medical care, your psychiatric care, your health care, all of it would be taken care of in exchange for your service. And that promise is being broken by people who don't deserve to shine your shoes. It's another thing that Democrats need to keep in mind in advance of the vote tomorrow. Anthony, thanks so much, Anthony. Call your senators. Do not write. Let them hear the fury in your voice and say no further. Let them know you're tracking their vote. Yeah, listen, it's too late to vote. I mean, there's a time, when writing makes sense. But this is not that time. This is urgent. We need to be shutting down their phone lines because with a volume of calls and intensity, because I'm telling you, they're not hearing us. I don't know why. Yes, I do. It's that bubble that only Democrats remain trapped in. Call them repeatedly until you get a human being on the phone. Please do that. Thank you, Anthony. Or sorry, Anthony. Oh, interesting. Becky, comment. It's embarrassing for the American president to sell cars on the White House lawn. Yeah, that's one word for it. That's the people's house. And what he just did was illegal. You are not allowed to shill. You are not allowed to sell stuff on the front lawn of the people's house. It is wrong on so many levels. It's basically a form of manipulation and unfair. It gives one company a deeply unfair advantage over other companies. But Donald never met a grift he didn't like. And I don't know if you all know this, but this is in wake of, Elon Musk's pledging $100 million to pro-Donald causes. Like every single other relationship Donald has, this one is transactional. Yes, Musk has the upper hand, but in this case, Musk needed something because Tesla, because of him, is tanking. And he needed Donald's help to sell some stupid cars. Just me. Thank you again. Comment. Just heard a great quote. If you put Caligula, Nero, and Hitler in a blender, ooh, you get Donald. Yeah. Yeah. Messy, hideous, but true. Thank you. Suki56 in the house. Thank you, Suki56. Question. Well, comment first. Mary, thank you and team for being there. We are more than happy to be here. So thank you for giving us a reason to be. Question. Does Donald hang with Putin because of Trump Tower Moscow? Just saying. Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. Like, I'm sure he's been promised all sorts of things, and there are no guardrails anymore because one way or another, he doesn't have to run for re-election. I mean, one way because he's not allowed to, another way because he's just going to stay. So he can do whatever he wants. He can grift whatever he wants. He can be paid in whatever way he wishes. And if that means Putin giving him Trump Tower Moscow in exchange for Ukraine and then Poland, then yeah, absolutely. You know, there are multiple reasons for Donald's relationship with his handler, Vladimir Putin. John, super sticker. Thanks so much, John. That's great. Marcus, comment. They need to leave Social Security alone. I have a mentally handicapped son who relies on Social Security insurance. Yeah, they really do. The question, Social Security is known as the third rail in American politics. You do not touch it. Look what happened to George W. Bush when he tried to privatize Social Security. He went on a tour around the country, and what happened? His approval ratings tanked. If he had done that before before he got reelected, he may not have been reelected. All bets are off now, because again, who's going to stop him? Well, Democrats could tomorrow, but they have to play hardball, and I don't know if they know how, or worse, I don't know if they understand that's what they need to do. Grace, thank you so much, Grace. Much appreciated. Comment. Hi, I'm pretty new here to your amazing channel. Well, thank you so much. I want to say my heartfelt thanks to all you and your team are doing for me, many of us, calming heightened feelings down. Kindly, Grace. Well, that is very kind of you, Grace. And honestly, I don't think I did a very good job of that tonight, for which I apologize. But, sometimes things get a little bit overwhelming, especially given that it's crunch time and what we're facing on Friday. So, but I do appreciate it. And, generally speaking, I do a better job of trying to tone things down a little bit. So I'm glad, I'm very grateful that you appreciate it. Carmen, thanks so very much, Carmen. Marjan, super sticker. Thank you. Canadian in the house. Thank you very much. Stay strong, Canada. We are with you. John, thank you so much, John. Question. Hi, Mary. So Mel Gibson apparently on Donna's special favors list. Sorry I've arrived here late. That's okay. Have you commented on that BS yet? No, we haven't. There's so much going on. Like we have to make sure that we kind of stay laser focused on not that it's not important, but like we have to focus on the stuff that has more to do with more than one person. Mel Gibson, as many of you know, is a horrific anti-Semite. He's a terrible, terrible person. And for reasons, I think he was arrested for DWIs a couple of times. I don't know if it's because of that. Honestly, I stopped thinking about him a very, very long time ago because he's such a horrific person. But Donald is trying to get somebody to make an exception so that Mel Gibson can own guns again, which sounds like a really good use of the President of the United States' time. Also, shame on anybody who contributed to the whitewashing and rehabilitation of people like Mel Gibson. It's so not cool. Sherry, thank you so very much. Question. Do you think Donald is the one who actually writes all of his True Social overnight posts? I know he's not losing sleep worrying about what he's doing to people. Most likely. I mean, there are a couple of easy ways to tell. If they are properly, if the words are properly capitalized and if the sentences are properly punctuated, he did not write them. But yes, if it's like 3, 4, or 5 in the morning and there are many of them at once, we talked about this the other day, in a 6-hour period, he posted 100 times as the stock market was crashing around us. When he gets on those kinds of tears, yes, it's him, because who's going to be brave enough to take his phone out of his hands? Nobody. And I have a theory, like the weird random capitalizations. I can't explain putting things in quotes that shouldn't be in quotes. That's just weird. But my grandfather's parents were from Germany, and my grandfather grew up speaking German. And in German, the language, all nouns are capitalized, not just proper nouns, all nouns. So that's my theory. Oops. No, sorry. Laura, super sticker. Thanks so much, Laura. Philip, thank you to you as well. Comment. The only qualification Donald's press secretary has is she looks a little like Ivanka. You know, his daughter that he well, yeah, I mean, that I cannot speak to that. But thanks, Mary. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know, but it's there is a look that is common among some people in the MAGA universe. Joyce, thank you very much for that comment. Thank you, Mary. You're quite welcome. Teresa, super sticker. Thanks so very much, Teresa. Claire, another Canadian in the house. Thank you so much, Canada. You are rocking it, so keep it up. And thank you for that. Much appreciated. I'm going to mispronounce this, so forgive me. Bluesleven. I want to buy a vowel. Anyway, thank you so much for that super sticker. Suki 56 again. My goodness, you overwhelmed me. Comment. I know Donald doesn't drive, but he's driving me insane. Yeah, well, that doesn't seem like a fair trade-off. What are the critters that pop out of the ground and you hit them over their head? That would stop Donald. I believe those are gophers. But don't do that to gophers. We like gophers. Oh no! Wait! Hold on. It's that moles. It's whack-a-mole. It's whack-a-mole. But don't do that to moles either. My goodness, we are not like that. Thanks, Suki56. All right. One more. Grace, thank you so very much, Grace. Question. Mary, can you consider collaborating with a huge YouTuber called Jake Bro or Professor Gertis, or a large Ukrainian YouTuber whose name is at Operator Starsky? He served in the UF since 2014. We can look into it. I mean, we're always looking to meet new, interesting people who understand what's going on, for sure. So thank you for the suggestions. All right. That does it for us. Thank you, everybody. All right. Yeah. Thank you to everybody watching on YouTube, to the dwindling number of people finding us on Twitter. So appreciate it. It must take a lot of effort these days to find me on Twitter. So thank you. To everybody checking out the live stream on Substack. I love having you guys here. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Substack, it's just a platform on which people can host newsletters. I've had one for over 3 years. It's called The Good in Us. So please check it out. Like here, there's a great community over there. The difference is that there's more room for interaction with other people in the community. You can write lengthy posts in response to my posts, and people can talk among themselves. It's really quite cool. It's free to subscribe, so you don't have to worry about that. And it would be awesome if we had more crossover between this community and that community and became one huge community. That's sort of my goal. So yeah, definitely check that out. Also, everybody listening to the podcast, thank you so much for that. Everybody writing comments, you guys are awesome. To all of our super stickers, everybody giving us gifts. We appreciate it more than we could possibly say. You make all of this possible. So thank you. And of course, to our moderators who keep this community going. We appreciate that tremendously. And to my quite amazing team, who is just, the task of keeping on top of all this, not only keeping on top of it, but sifting through it, making sense of it, and making me look good, is Herculean. So thanks all of you so much. And that does it for us. I will be back tomorrow night. Tomorrow's Thursday. 6 p.m. Eastern. Also Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, every week, 6 p.m. Eastern. Also, the Nerds will be at 12 noon Eastern tomorrow. We've got videos dropping every single day. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell icon, because then you will be notified every time new episodes drop. And what else am I missing? That's it. I think I've comprehensively covered everything. Oh yeah, like and share our videos too, because that helps us grow. And we're trying. We're over. I think we're almost at 325,000 subscribers. We'd like to get to 350 very soon, because I'm impatient. All right, that does it. Thank you all so much. I will see you tomorrow night. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind.